All right, so what's up? I ain't done this in a minute. So right now what I'm gonna do is test to see if you're gonna be able to hear my audio or if it's gonna give an echo or whatever. Okay. So I'm gonna put my earbud in my phone and I'm going to check to see um if we can hear anything. All right. And right now I know I'm probably talking to my goddamn self, but that's all right. Because either somebody's gonna come in this live or somebody's gonna watch the replay and it's gonna be all good. You feel me? So let me just see if I can hear. And you probably hear my dogs in the background. So let me see if you can hear this audio. So now we see Dexter back up by the house. And baby, he is setting his lab up. Okay, now it's actually more of a greenhouse. Okay, so y'all can hear that. Y'all can hear that. So what I'm gonna do is what the fuck am I gonna do? Yeah, I'm gonna go to scene one. All right, here's how I did this. I took each scene and I recorded it as I'm watching it. So you get a genuine reaction. And also, I won't forget anything. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is play the recordings of the scenes that I saw so that, like I said, you get a genuine reaction. I don't forget shit. And we can get through this entire review in one piece. And it's all nice and good. And I'm going to give my commentary. You're going to hear me giving my commentary in the recordings and shit. So, here we go. So 10 years later, and it's through the snow in a wooded area with a hunting rifle. He sees a white buck that he wants to, hunt and kill, but he can't seem to do it. He falls to his knees and he just sits there on his knees for a little bit. It seems like he's kind of struggling with who he used to be compared to who he's trying to be now. They're talking and my goddamn mic is muted. The fuck type shit is that anyway? So all right, Dexter's basically he's back. He's trying to live a normal life. It's been 10 years. He doesn't want anybody to know who the fuck he is, right? Okay. So we're going to play scene two. Then it jumps to him in what appears to be his backyard. He lives in a log cabin type of thing, and he's pretty much trying to go through normal life. He's cutting wood. He has a little fire pit back there, and he's just trying to be normal. He's got himself a little farm on his property. So he's feeding the animals. He has a little fishing hole in the back, and he's setting up everything. And he's just still there. He's trying to live a normal life. He's trying to forget who he was in the past and just be normal. Okay, so like I said, this motherfucker he's trying to be normal, and I'm going to keep saying that he's trying to be normal because y'all know who Dexter is. He trying, po thing. So here's scene 3. So then he goes in the house, and this is where it gets interesting. We see Deb, his dead sister. Now, when he was in Miami, he would see his stepdad all the time. So now I guess Deb is his conscience. And so, we're going to see what happens with that. And then the opening of the show happened. I am not impressed with the opening of this show. Y'all remember the old Dexter, right? Y'all remember how that show opened up? That was iconic. This is not. But anyway, I'm not going to hold that against the rest of the show. We're going to hang in there. Again, trying to be normal. This motherfucker, he is really struggling with the shit. And you're going to see this throughout the episode. Okay? He is like, it's like trying to get rid of an addiction. And he is really trying it. Really. Okay? So, scene 4. So now, after the opening, we see Dexter driving down this little country highway, minding his business, listening to the radio. And so he passes this cop. Now the cop is behind a road sign, like one of them big welcome to wherever type of billboard road signs. The cop is sitting behind there, right? And so she turns her lights on and her siren, and she starts following him, and she pulls him over. So then she gets out of her car. She asks him for his license and registration. And, he gets it out and he shows it to her. And she looks at it and she says, James Lindsay. And he says, well, Jim, actually. So now he's going by the name James Lindsay. And I guess, people call him Jim. So he's in the passenger seat. He's got this thing. It's a cloth thing, and he has different knives and an axe in it. And it's one of them cloth things that you just stick your knives in the pouch and you roll it up. Well, he's got that on the seat next to him. He puts his hand on it. And something happened, bitch. So she says, sir, I'm gonna need you to get out of the vehicle. So he gets out and she says, turn around, hands on the truck. So he turns around, he puts his hands on the truck, and then she starts to frisk him, right? And she getting a little touchy-feely when she starts frisking him, okay? So then he turns around and he grabs her by the waist and pulls her in, and he starts kissing her, right? And they're kissing, and the next thing you know, they in the back of the truck having sex. Child, that's his girlfriend. They like to play this little freaky cop game. I mean, she really is a cop, but they like to play this little freaky cop game, okay? I guess it's a role-playing thing. Hey, do you, boo? Anyway, so she gets a call on her little dispatcher thing, on her little, radio thing. And the dispatcher is like, okay, well, the guy's sheep broke out of the backyard again and they're eating the neighbor's flowers again. So we need you to go take care of it. And the cop, she's like, look, can somebody else handle this? I'm a little busy right now,
So she's like, no, nobody else is available. So the cops start naming people. She names the first person, and the dispatcher's like, well, no, because he's down at the bakery because somebody stole some pies. And she names another person. She's like, well, no, he just had his wisdom teeth out. He can't do it. So should I tell them you're on your way? She's like, ugh, yeah, go ahead, tell them. So, all right, now obviously from the crimes or so-called crimes that are going on in this town, you can tell it's one of them little country bumpkin towns, and the cops have nothing better to do. So now she's got to go handle these sheep that are eating the neighbor's flowers. My goodness. Anyway, y'all know Dexter always had a little bit of comedy in it, so we gonna roll with it. So and this is definitely a hell of a lot different than Miami. Okay, this is it's New York, but it's rural New York. It's country New York. It's bumpkin, bitch. When I say bumpkin, this is motherfucking bumpkin. Okay. Anyway, so they say their goodbyes, and Dexter drives off.
So now we see that he has a girlfriend and he has a different name, so we're gonna see what happens with this. Y'all remember what happened to his last girlfriend or his last few girlfriends. Anyway, we're gonna see what happens. I hope she sticks around. She might not. Anyway, let's go. We're going to play scene 5.
All right, so now we see him driving through this rural, little cute little New York town, and you can see that it's a really quaint, quiet little place. He pulls up in the town square and he gets out of his truck. You can see him walking down the street, and he's talking to different people in the neighborhood. Now, this is one of those little rural towns. I'm emphasizing this is a little rural town for a reason. Like he's used to not being seen in Miami. Okay, this is one of them little rural bumpkin towns where everybody knows everybody. If you fart, everybody's gonna know about it. Okay, and this is Dexter. Okay. So he's walking and he's having these little conversations with everybody. Everybody knows everybody. La 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 di da di do. So he goes to the butcher, and the butcher is out back cutting up a pig. And you can see that he's trying to hold back his urges because he sees the butcher cutting up the pig, And so he pulls out the axe from the little sack that he had next to him on the seat in the car, in his truck. He pulls out the axe and he starts walking up behind the butcher. And this eerie music is playing and everything. But in reality, okay, y'all know that ain't how Dexter does his thing. So the axe that he had in the sack was for the butcher. So he hands the butcher the axe. They have a little conversation. And Dexter goes on about his business. The butcher says, thanks, Jimmy, you're a lifesaver. Dexter goes on about his business. And like I said, it's the town square. It's a little tiny little rural country bumpkin thing. You can get to everywhere in the town square on foot. You don't have to get back in your car and drive anywhere. So then Dexter goes to the bakery, and then he goes to work. And he works in this like this tackle shop. They sell fish bait and rods and hunting gear and shit like that, right? So they have these big guns, these rifle, these hunting guns, and they have the knives, and they have everything you need to go fishing and all that outdoorsy shit. So again, he's just trying to be normal.
Okay, so this little town that he's in is so much different than Miami. You can really tell that he is trying to leave that old life behind him. He doesn't want to do that no more. He's trying. He's really trying. But y'all know what it do. Y'all know what it is. So, all right. We are going to play scene 6.
All right, so now he's at work, and his boss comes up to him. He's like, "Oh, did you get my favorite little pastry?" He's like, "Yeah." So he's like, "Oh, this is delicious." So they're having a little conversation. The boss and his partner got a new dog. They're trying to decide on the name, whatever, whatever. Again, he's trying to be normal. He don't want to be a killer no more. No, he's not trying to do that no more. So, where he found mundane conversations just pointless and boring before, now that's what he does. This is his everyday life. It's been 10 years. It's what he's doing. He's doing it. He's been doing it 10 years. Okay. So then his boss walks off and he sees some people walking into the store. He's like, "Oh, here we go." So the guy and his friend come in, and he's looking for a hunting knife and a big ass gun. Those were his words. He says that he wants a knife and a big ass gun. So Dexter shows him a knife and he starts waving it around. Like he's waving it around in Dexter's face. So Dexter backs up and he's like, "Whoa, whoa," you know. And the guy starts laughing. So he wants Dexter to sell him a gun. Dexter, asks him what kind of gun. And he's like, "I want a big ass gun, real big gun." So Dexter shows him a gun and he's like, "You see him over there?" He points to his friend. And he's like, "He's already got that gun. And I want something to make his gun look like a super soaker." So he says, "Well, what about that gun over there?" He points to this gun on the wall. It's huge. Dexter says, "Well, you're going to need. I mean, this has much more power than anything you're going to need to hunt around here." So the guy, he's just, impressed with it. He's like, he wants it. So Dexter's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's gonna set you back $9,000." And he's like, "Yeah." The guy, he's rich, so he's like, "Yeah, whatever." So he Dexter puts the guy's information into the computer, and it comes back that the guy has to wait for 24 hours for them to check his background and everything. And it's blinking red on the computer. The dude's like, "What the fuck?" So Dexter's like, "It's a normal procedure. It's a check. It's normal." So the rich dude, he's being an asshole, okay? And he wants it now, and he's trying to convince Dexter to give it to him now. And he's like, "Well, you wouldn't want the shop to be closed for, doing this, would you?" And the guy looks at him like, okay, goody two shoes. You can't break the rules or whatever." So he hands Dexter his credit card to pay for the knife and the gun. And so then his friend is over in another part of the store, not even paying attention. So he walks up behind his friend and he wraps his arm around his friend's around his friend to where it looks like he's putting the knife up against his friend's throat. And he thought this shit was funny. His friend didn't think it was funny. The asshole thought this shit was funny. And so then, they leave. Well, Dexter gives him his credit card back and they leave.
Now already they are setting this dude up to be an asshole, and you want him to die. I want him to die. I don't know about y'all. I want this motherfucker to die. Anyway, so now we are going to play scene 7.
In the next scene, we see Dexter going to visit his girlfriend at the police station. When he gets there, the dispatcher lady, again, it's a small town. Everybody's in the same office. The dispatcher, the police. There's like in this whole town, okay? So, she's gossiping. She's like, well, did you hear that asshole? Can't even remember his name. His name is not worth remembering because I don't think he's going to be around too long anyway. So I'm just going to call him asshole. Did you hear that asshole has an FBI alert on his name? And Dexter's like, yeah, he came in to buy a gun. It's just, it's just a 24-hour hold. It's normal. And she's really just trying to put 10 on 20, make it bigger than what it is. So now y'all know that in the first Dexter, they had all the little mini cases during the season, and then they had that one big case that lasted the entire season, right? So in his girlfriend's office, and I'm going to continue to call her either his girlfriend or the cop, because I don't know if we should get too attached to her yet. I don't know how in danger she is yet. You know what happened to his last girlfriend. You know what happened to his sister. You know the reason he left his son and just left. Like, he's scared that, everybody around him just dies, and they pretty much do. So I don't know how attached we should get to this girlfriend yet. So for now, I'm just going to call her his girlfriend, or I'm going to call her the cop. Okay? We don't need to get into her name and get too attached to her and all of that bullshit. And then she ended up dead. So anyway, in his girlfriend's office, she has up a bunch of pictures because they're working on a case. There is a serial killer going around. And this serial killer is killing young women or young girls in their town. And so they're trying to piece together this case. So she has all these pictures up on the wall in her office. And so this is how he, learns a little bit more about that case. And you can see his mind start turning a little bit, but he suppresses it because he ain't trying to do that no more.
Again, he's just trying to live a normal life. He's trying to be normal. He don't want to be a killer no more. Okay? He not a killer. He just kills a lot. All right. That was lame. Look, bitch, I'm tired. Okay? Leave me alone. So anyway, we are going to play scene 8.
All right, now later on that night, Dexter, aka Jim, and his girlfriend end up at a little country bumpkin bar. It's date night for them, basically. So you're gonna hear me call him Dexter sometimes, and sometimes you're gonna hear me call him Jim. This is because we know him as Dexter, but the small town that he's living in, everybody, including his girlfriend, knows him as Jim or Jimmy. Okay? So when it's in reference to, just him and the audience, meaning us, then I'll be calling him Dexter. When it's in reference to him and somebody in the town, I'll be calling him Jim or Jimmy. All right? So that's that. So now, Jim goes up to the bar and places an order for him and his girlfriend. And he has a little conversation with the bartender, and he tells her to put his order on his tab. She says no need because, surprise, surprise, asshole just happens to be at the bar and he's just buying everything for everybody because he's rich and he can do that and whatever. So you can see the look on Dexter's face, and child, that look on his face is like, bitch, please. Now, he doesn't say that, but you can tell that he's pretty much thinking, nah, fuck that. And so he tells the bartender, well, put it on my tab anyway. And so now it's at this time he went back to the table and he's talking to his girlfriend. Now, in this scene, you can see her face really good, And I'm looking at her. She kind of resembles Deb. Y'all remember what Deb looks like? His sister. Y'all remember what she looks like? Well, shit, if you've seen the episode, then you've been reminded of what she looks like. But this lady, she doesn't look exactly like Deb. But she reminds you of Deb in the face. She's just a little, thicker. Deb is like really skeleton skinny. This lady, she's a little bit, she has a good weight on her. So her face is a little thicker, but she still reminds me of Deb. Anyway, that's a little weird for me because we know in the last Dexter, before she died, she confessed that she was in love with him. Okay? So, I mean, that's a little weird. We going further explore that later in the season, maybe. Okay? We're going to come back to that. We're going to put a pin in it. See if it comes up later in this episode even, or later in the season. So, now while Dexter and his girlfriend are chilling at the bar, it takes us outside and we see the semi truck pull up, right? And then this guy hops out of the passenger side. And he's got on all black, and he's wearing a hoodie and a backpack. Well, okay, I'm assuming it's a guy at this point because the way the person is built, it looks like a dude. So then all they show us was him getting out of the semi truck, and then they go back into the bar. Or nobody goes back into the bar. The camera goes back into the bar. And, that's, everybody's dancing, having. Can we stop doing the electric slide? Seriously. Like, bruh. Anyway. So, they're in there, everybody's having fun, they're doing the goddamn electric slide. So, while Dexter's girlfriend is up at the bar, asshole comes up to Dexter's table and starts talking to him. And he said that his dad's throwing a party and he invites Dexter, who I'm going to call Jim, because again, he's talking to a townie. So he invites Jim to the party. And in that conversation, right after he invites him to the party, he tries to convince Jim to go to the store and open it up and give him his gun. And Jim is just like, when tomorrow when your background check clears, then you can have your gun. And he's like, oh, goody two shoes, da 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 da. Well, why don't you just come to the party anyway? And so then the asshole turns around and he sees Dexter's girlfriend at the bar. He's like, your girlfriend's a cop, huh? Dexter's like, yeah. He's like, well, you might want to come stag because there's going to be a lot of suspicious activity, if you know what I mean. And Dexter's is like, yeah, okay. So asshole walks away. And so like basically he's just pulling that rich boy dumbass shit. Can't stand them jocks, you know. I want him to die. So anyway, he walks away. And then we go to Dexter's girlfriend, who's at the bar. And there's this young girl at the bar as well. And she looks very early 20s, maybe 18, really, really young. This girl, she wants to order some food, but she doesn't have enough money. So Dexter's girlfriend tells the bartender to put it on her tab. And the girl's like, really? Thank you. And so, she tells her she's just there for, a little while. She's just passing through. She just wants to make sure that she has enough money for the bus fare to get out of there the next day. So Dexter's girlfriend hands her some more money. And she says, don't worry about it. And she points to a lady that's on the dance floor. She says, she runs someplace to stay tonight. So the girl's like, really? Thank you so much. And so now this takes us back to the police station when Dexter's girlfriend was showing him all of the pictures of the young girls that had died in that town. Now, I think that this is why they made that conversation between the cop and the young girl so standoutish. Yes, I said standoutish. I know what the fuck I just said. Listen, I think that's why they made that conversation so standoutish, because I think she might die. Okay? So Dexter's girlfriend, after that conversation, goes to sit down at the table, and they're having their own conversation. So she hears this ding come from her phone. It's a notification from her smart doorbell. Her daughter decides she wants to be grown and have a little party while mama's out. And being a teenager, she doesn't realize that, as soon as somebody comes up on the porch, mama's going to know you're having a party. So anyway, she sees what's happening because you can see the feed from the smart doorbell on your cell phone. And so, she's not having none of that. So she leaves to go handle that. Dexter finishes his drink and he leaves right after her. And so it's dark outside, And they came in separate vehicles. So it wasn't a problem as to how he was going to get home because she left, or how she was going to get home because he was still there. They had separate vehicles. He's walking to his truck. And the stranger that we briefly saw get out of the semi-truck is watching him. Like he's watching him go to his truck. He's just standing there staring at him, And it gives you this really weird feeling, like, who is this motherfucker? Is shit finna jump off right now? Like, girl, okay, let's keep watching.
Now, y'all know good and goddamn well, if Dexter was still in practice, Will nobody be creeping around watching his ass, sneaking up on his ass and shit like that, all right? So, he's rusty. He's out of practice. It's been 10 years. So we got to give him a little break. All right. And we just we got to bear with him. It's all right. So now we're going to play scene 9.
Okay, so the next day, we see Dexter running through the forest again with his hunting rifle, and he sees the same white buck that was in the beginning of the episode, and he aims his hunting rifle. He has the buck in his crosshairs, and he's just looking at it again. It's almost like he can't shoot it. He's trying to hunt, but he can't do it. So it's not too long before we hear a footstep in the snow. And the buck hears it too. So the buck looks and runs off. And then so Dexter turns around and he sees somebody watching him. And it's the guy from the night before that had got off the semi-truck that was watching him get in his truck. And so Dexter goes to follow him, but he loses him. The guy runs off. So then Dexter goes back in the house and he's cooking himself some breakfast and he's talking to Deb. So he told her that he has a feeling he's being watched. She said that he's probably just letting an asshole get in his head and it's really probably just nothing. So she told him to stick to his routine. Because if you remember, in old Dexter, he had a ritual that he went through every time he killed somebody. And he did not break from that. And, that's how he was able to get away with what he was able to get away with for so long. Now, it was almost like an addiction for him, So when you break one addiction, you have to replace it with another one. So now he needs a different type of ritual. So this is what Deb is telling him. Just keep following your routine. This is his new ritual. This is what's keeping him from killing people. Okay? So I think I'm going to call this the trying to be normal ritual, at least for now. Because I really don't think that this ritual is going to be happening for too much longer. Okay? I mean, they brought the show back for a reason, right? Right. Okay. Anyway, so just to drive home the point that he has a whole new ritual, they show him at work and he's going through this little montage of how he's opening the store. He's getting everything, putting everything in its place. It has to be perfect. He goes to the bakery every day and he brings the pastries back and everything. And so he's helping the customers. And then it's lunchtime. So he comes out of the tackle shop and he can hear all this noise. So he starts walking to the restaurant where he's going to go get his lunch. And there's people out there protesting. And they're chanting, "Save the planet! Drilling is killing! Shame on you!" So he walks past the protesters, right? He gets to the door and there's 2 bodyguards in front of the door so that nobody can get in. Well, his girlfriend, the cop, walks up and he asks her what's going on. She tells him that the local petrol millionaire decided to have his annual board meeting there. Well, then she spots her daughter at the protest and she asks her why she's there. Because, basically it's a school day and she's a teenager. Basically, our daughter is down for the cause. Hallelujah, amen. So this local petrol billionaire that's causing everybody to protest and rents out the whole goddamn restaurant for his board meeting turns out to be asshole's dad. And now we see where asshole gets it from. So then Papa Petro comes outside, and I'm going to call him Papa Petro, okay? Because I don't know how much longer he's going to be around. Then again, he might have something to do with the disappearance of these young girls. We don't know. At this point, it's all speculation. It's just the first episode. This is our first time meeting him. So, all we do know about him is that he is the local petrol millionaire and he is asshole's dad and he does asshole shit. And that's where his son got it from. So, at this point in time, his name is Papa Petro. So, he comes out of the restaurant and he has one of the waiters following him with a tray full of hot chocolate for the protesters because it's wintertime, it's cold. The only one that took one of the hot chocolates was the cop's daughter. Now he starts this whole little spiel about oh, it's so nice to see young people so concerned and you really have nothing to worry about and a bunch of bullshit, right? So then, like I said, the only one that takes one of the hot chocolates is the cop's daughter. And he looks at her and she pours the hot chocolate down on the ground right in front of him. Like basically saying, look, motherfucker, we don't need your money. Go the fuck on somewhere. Okay, I'm taking this hot chocolate that you bought and I'm throwing it the fuck out. Now, you know what? I really like this kid. She's petty as fuck and I like her. I want her to live. I want her to make it. I like this kid. I really do. So, for now, she's the cop's daughter because I don't know if she's going to make it, but I like her. I like her. I hope I can call her by her name in a few episodes. Okay? All right. So anyway. So then Dexter turns around and he sees this stalker again. So he starts to walk towards the guy. And the guy's across the street in the alley, peeking around the corner, right? So he starts to walk towards the guy and the guy runs off again. He runs off again and Dexter loses him. So lunch is over. Dexter's back at work and his boss informs him that asshole's background check just came in and everything is all fine and dandy. And asshole, being the asshole that he is, wants somebody to drop the gun off at his father's lodge. Okay? This is not a man who is disabled. This is not a man who does not have a vehicle. He's just privileged. And again, there's nothing wrong with getting your shit dropped off. Okay? Okay. However, this particular person irks the fuck out of me. So I'm looking at this as just another privileged little asshole-ish type of thing. And I want to choke. I want him to die. Okay? Anyway. So, Dexter is a little hesitant to take that particular gun to asshole. He already sees what type of person he is. And he's like, yo, you sure about this? And so the store owner, he's like, yeah, it's $9,000. Okay. So, I agree with Dexter that asshole should not have this big ass, powerful ass gun. And ooh, he just needs to die. Anyway. So, it's Dexter's job to go take the gun to him. Dexter doesn't want to do it. He asks his boss, can you go? The boss says, no, we're going to go pick up the dog today because they adopted a dog. And Dexter's like, all right, whatever, I'll do it.
All right, so now you can see the frustration in Dexter. He doesn't want to go to this guy. He doesn't want to see this guy. He wishes this guy never existed. He wishes he never met the dude, right? And I don't blame him. All right. I don't blame him at all for not wanting to see this dude. He doesn't want him to have this particular gun, and I can see why. Okay, so now we're gonna play scene 10.
Dexter pulls up to the lodge. It's the middle of the day, and Asshole is having the party. Now, you remember Asshole's friend that came with him to the store, and Asshole pulled the knife out on him because he thought that shit was funny? All right, well, the friend walks up to Dexter, and he says, I can't believe he really made you deliver this shit here. Now, these are my words. You know, the show had a little more decorum, but y'all know me. So Dexter tells Bill, the friend, that he just has a little more paper for Asshole, and Bill takes Dexter upstairs to where Asshole is. Now, on the way there, Bill tells Dexter, who I'm going to call Jim in this instance. So Bill tells Jim, I don't know why he even has these things. He always ends up holed up in some bedroom anyway. So they get to the bedroom that Asshole is holed up in, and he's in there having sex with some girl. The girl doesn't even stop, and Asshole looks at Bill and he's like, yeah, what's up? Bill's like, oh, I'm sorry, and he closes the door. So now Bill is looking a little distraught, and he walks off. Now, he goes into the bathroom, and Dexter is still standing in the hallway. He's standing there like, the fuck is going on? And so Bill says, come on, get in here. And he drags Dexter into the bathroom. And then he pulls out some powder and puts it on the counter and snorts it. He offers Jim some of the powder, and Jim says no. Well, we find out that Bill is the one that brought that girl to the party that Asshole is having sex with. So basically, he liked this girl, and she was his date, and his so-called friend is now having sex with her, right? So, like I said, Asshole is an asshole, and he needs to die. Now, Bill has this scar on his face, right? And he says to Jim, you know what they call me? Jim looks at him and says, what? He says, dick face, because of the scar. And it really looks like there's a dick on his face. Like they showed a close-up of his face, and the scar on his face really looks like a dick, and it's kind of close to his mouth, you know? And so he says, you know who never gets laid? Dick face. So Bill, you know, he's a little high, he's a little distraught, and he's a little upset. And the person he's upset with is Asshole. So Dexter, you know, he doesn't say this, but you can see the look on his face. The look on his face is like, you know what, I don't really need this. So he starts walking out the bathroom. And Bill, who is high and distraught and pissed off, he says, I should have got off that boat. Now, Dexter stops because you remember when Dexter was at his girlfriend's police department and they were talking about the boating accident that Asshole was involved in, right? Okay. So Dexter goes and listens to what Bill has to say. And so then Bill and his high ass spills all the beans, okay? It was Asshole who was driving the boat. And that's how Bill got the scar on his face in the first place. So Bill says that he told Asshole not to drive the boat because he's high. Dexter is a little confused when he hears this because the story was that Asshole was not the one driving the boat. Well, Bill says, you know what? Fuck it and fuck him. Then Bill tells the story of what really happened, right? So now, right, this is where we get the exclusive. Okay, Rich? Okay, listen. So it turns out that Bill lied at the trial and covered for Asshole. So now he's like, so I covered for him so that he could stay out of jail and stay out of trouble. And I go to jail and he bangs my girlfriends. He says girlfriends, plural. So now we realize that this isn't the first time that asshole does this shit to him, right? Listen, honey, look, asshole just needs to die, period. Okay? So now asshole is bribing Bill to keep his mouth shut. He gets $2,000 a week and a Rolex. And Papa Petro did some kind of bullshit to cover it up with the cops. So Jim asked Bill, why didn't asshole stop when he saw the guy? Bill says because asshole hated the guy and he was playing chicken in the goddamn boat, okay? He lost $500,000 on some kind of deal with the guy that he hit. Mind you, asshole was high as fuck the entire time. So the other guy gave up. Now, remember, they were playing chicken with the boats. The other guy gave up and turned away. He was going away, and asshole decided to hit him anyway. Again, asshole must die, okay? Now, Bill is a little fucked up about all this, and that's understandable. You know, I would be too. But then he came to his senses, and he looked at Jim, and he said, this is going to stay between us, right? I really need that $2,000 a week. So Dexter, and I know that he's talking to a townie, and I usually call him Jim when he's talking to a townie, but I'm saying Dexter for a very specific reason. Okay, so Dexter looks into Bill's eyes and he says, you're talking to the guy where secrets go to die. Bitch, boom. There we have it. It started. Asshole's finna die, and bitch, I love it.
All right, so now we getting into it. Now, I know this episode started out a little slow, okay? But now it's finna get rolling a little bit. This is what we feeling. This is what we came here for. Bitch, this is Dexter. Okay, give me. So, now we are going to play scene 11.
Now, after Bill confesses everything and Dexter has the whole story, asshole finally finishes having sex. The girl walks out of his room and she's shocked to see Jim standing there. And I'm calling him Jim again because this is a townie. She's shocked to see Jim standing there. And she's like, oh, Mr. Lindsay, please don't tell my father. And he looks at her and he says, I won't if you leave right now. So she runs out of the house. And then asshole is in his room and he's still got his shirt off and he's got on some boxer briefs, and that's pretty much it. I'm mentioning the boxer briefs for a reason, so stay with me. So he looks at Jim and he's like, hey, you got my gun? So Jim walks into the room and hands the hunting rifle to asshole. And asshole's in the room. He's got some kind of pipe and he's like smoking crack or some shit. So, I mean, literally, he's really smoking crack or heroin or whatever the fuck in this pipe. And we know this, okay? We know that this is not a vape. We know that this is not a one-hitter with weed because he says to Dexter, do you want to hit? And so Dexter's like, no. So asshole takes another hit of his crack or heroin or whatever the fuck. Now, remember, I said he had on some boxer briefs, right? Now, while he's standing there taking his hit, he's skinny, you know. And you could see one of the veins popping out of his leg. They showed a close-up of it. You could see the vein just popping out of his leg, right? And Dexter sees that vein. And he has to hold himself back a little bit because, you know, Dexter, his dark passenger, is still in there. So he sees that vein and it's popping out real good, but he has to hold himself back. Okay? So asshole tells Jim that he already Venmo'd Fred, and Fred is the owner of the tackle shop. So Dexter pulls out this little piece of paper and it has the whole spiel on it. That you're supposed to tell the new gun owner about, you know, how to follow the rules and all that shit. So then asshole signed the bill of sale, and he unzips the case and takes the gun out. And he says to the gun, "Oh, sweetheart," and then he kisses the gun, right? And he says, "Finally, you're mine." And he starts aiming the gun around the room. And then he aims it at Jim. Now, mind you, the gun is still not loaded. But again, you see somebody aim a gun at you, you're going to be a little shocked. Okay? All right. You remember in the old Dexter when he would have imaginations? Like we would see what he was thinking that he wanted to do in his mind, and then we would snap back to reality as to what really happened. Okay, so in Dexter's imagination, he grabbed the gun from asshole and butted him in the nose with it and broke his nose. And asshole was just standing there looking at him like, oh, oh, oh. So then we snap back to reality, and Dexter's just looking at asshole, right? And he realized at that time, you know what? It's time to go. And so then he left.
All right. So now we see his dark passenger, it's stirring up a little bit more, and it's getting a little bit harder to control it. But he's doing it. He's doing it. He is doing the damn thing. All right? He's doing it. So, and we rocking with him. We cheering for him. We rooting for him. But at the same time, this is Dexter. And we just waiting. We just waiting for Dexter to come on out. Okay? So now, here is scene 12.
Now, by the time Dexter gets back home, it's dark. We see him get out of his truck, and all of a sudden, a light turns on in his house, and he can see a silhouette of somebody in there. Now, Dexter ain't going for that shit, right? Right. Okay. So he grabs an axe that's outside in a piece of wood. Now, like I said, he lives in the woods. He does the normal routine. He chops wood for the fire in his and shit like that. So y'all know there's a stump there's a tree, usually a tree stump that they cut the wood on, and that's where they keep the axe. Like when they're done chopping the wood, they put the axe in the tree stump. So that's where the axe is. So he grabs the axe out of the tree stump, right? And then he creeps up onto his porch and slowly opens his front door, and he goes in the house. So then he's in the house, and he starts creeping right up behind the stranger that's in his house, right? This guy is going through Dexter's papers on his desk. So Dexter creeps right up behind the guy with the axe in his hand, and he's standing there. And he says to the guy, "What the hell are you doing?" And the guy turns around, and it's a fucking kid. So the kid starts stuttering, like, are you Dexter Morgan? You know what the kid says next? He says, "It's me, Harrison." Harrison, Dexter's son. Okay, now listen. I know what y'all are thinking, right? How did a kid find Dexter? This is Dexter. If he wants to be hidden, if he wants to stay hidden, he's going to stay hidden. But you have to remember, this is Dexter's child. This child has Dexter's genes. This child has Dexter in him. Yes, he found his father. All right. Also, this is the same person that's been following Dexter around with the hoodie and the backpack. So it was his son the entire time. Now, child, if you could have seen the look on Dexter's face, he was in complete shock. Okay? But he also needs to remember, like, listen, bro, this is your son. He has your genes. If anybody's going to find you, it's him. Okay? he has the same skills that you have. And if I remember correctly, Dexter even saw that in him when he was still a baby. Okay, so now Dexter's like, Harrison, and he starts to walk towards the boy. And then we see Deb pop up. And she's like, no, you can't. Everyone around you dies. And I'm sitting there looking like, bitch, shut the fuck up. Look, ain't you supposed to be dead? Go on somewhere. Shit, walk through a wall or something. God damn. Always trying to fuck shit up. So anyway, Dexter looks at him and he stops in his tracks. And he's looking at Harrison. And he says, I don't know who you're talking about. And Harrison looks at Dexter and he's like, but you look just like I remember. And Dexter's standing there staring at him, right? And then Deb says, everyone around you that you care about dies. And she starts naming names like Dokes. First of all, he didn't give a fuck about Dokes, okay? Anyway, Dokes, LaGuardia, the kid's mom, I can't remember her name. And then Deb pulls up her shirt and it shows the bullet hole in her stomach. And she pulls the bullet out and she holds it up and she goes, me. And then right after she does that, you can see Harrison in the background and it looks like his shirt is getting all bloody, like he has a bullet wound. And so Dexter tries his best to convince Harrison that he's not Dexter. But Harrison doesn't believe that shit, and the look on his face, oh my goodness, the look on Harrison's face, it was just like he was hurt and angry at the same time, but he didn't want to say anything, you know? And then Dexter's like, sorry, you have the wrong guy. He said, I hope you find who you're looking for. And then Dexter hands Harrison some money and tells him when the next bus is leaving. And Harrison, he opens the door and Harrison walks out. And Deb is just like, oh, you're doing the right thing. You know what, Deb? Shut the fuck up. Bitch, if you weren't already dead, I would want you dead. Go somewhere. God damn it. Dumb bitch.
So, already, Deb is getting on my goddamn nerves, okay? And if you remember in the first Dexter, she did the same shit. Like, she has the worst fucking time when she was alive. And now that she's dead and can pop up at any time, anywhere, bitch, go away. Where is your daddy? Goddamn, go bug him. Shit. Anyway. So now we're going to go to scene 13.
Now it's the next day, and Dexter goes out to the fishing hole, and he's pulling a chain up to see what he caught. So all of a sudden, Deb pops up out the goddamn water hole, and then some dark figure wraps its arms around her neck and drags her back down into the water. And then Dexter jumps up in the bed. So it was really a nightmare. It wasn't really the next day. And he lays back down in the bed, and we see Deb laying in the bed with him, caressing him like she's his lover, which brings me back to the cop that resembles her, and why this shit is kind of weird to me, a little unsettling, a little creepy. But anyway, she's caressing his head and his shoulder like she's his lover, and she says to him, oh, well, I'm so glad I went first, because if you had died, I'd be lost in the world. You're such a changed man. I'm so proud of you. And whoop-de-whoop and doody-doo. Dumb bitch. So anyway, it cuts to the next scene. And now it really is the next day. Dexter's in the woods again, and he's chasing that white buck. And then he sees it. And he's got it in his crosshairs. And he's standing there. and he's looking at it. And then he lowers his gun. So with the gun lowered, he starts to creep towards the buck a little bit, you know? And so the buck looks up and sees him. And it starts to run, but then it stops. And then so the buck is looking at Dexter. Dexter's looking at the buck. So Dexter holds his hand out and he's just like, please, 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 please. And the buck doesn't move. So then Dexter slowly walks over to the buck and he starts petting it. And then Dexter like kind of kneels down on his knees and he's still petting the buck, you know? And he's really having a moment. It's like he's found something that he can just connect to, you know? And then all of a sudden there's this gunshot and the buck drops. And Dexter falls because the bullet like whizzed past his face, like it almost hit him. And Dexter's looking around. And then all of a sudden, we hear asshole in the distance. Woo! A white fucking buck. And he comes running out from behind the tree. So this time, Dexter really did take the butt of the shotgun. And he butted asshole's nose with it. And asshole dropped. Bitch, I'm telling you, asshole went down. You feel me? Okay? I was cracking up. So then Dexter rushes over to asshole. And there's a knife in asshole's pants pockets. You know the cargo pants where like they got the pockets on that leg? And so he's got a knife in there. So Dexter pulls the knife out of the holster in the cargo pants. And he's standing there. And he's standing over him with the knife and he's looking down. And you know how we can hear what Dexter's thinking, right? So he's standing there with this knife in his hand and he's staring down at the asshole. And we can hear his thoughts and he's thinking to himself, it's been a long time. Child, when we heard that thought, I say, yes, bitch, yes, it has, and let the carnage begin. So we hear another one of his thoughts. He thinks to himself, if I'm going to do this, I've got to do it right. First rule of the code, don't get caught. So then Dexter walks over to the buck, and he slits the buck's throat and lets the buck bleed out. Now, they're on a little bit of an incline. So the buck is bleeding out onto the snow, but again, they're on a little bit of an incline. So the buck's blood is running over to where asshole is. And so I'm thinking, you know, Dexter might be thinking if any if any of asshole's blood is there, then it's going to get mixed with the buck's blood. They're not going to be able to trace anything. So then Dexter goes back over to asshole and he wipes the buck's blood on asshole's pants and then puts the knife back in the holster that's in asshole's side pocket on his leg.
All right, so now we get into it, right? Now we really get into the shit, right? This motherfucker finna die. He finna die. You in danger, bitch. All right. Let me calm the fuck down. He finna die, bitch. Look. Get the fuck out of here. Bye, Felicia. Anyway, we gonna go to scene 14.
So now we see Dexter back up by the house. And baby, he is setting his lab up. Okay, now it's actually more of a greenhouse looking type of structure, but you know, he doing what he got to do. All right, you know, he been out of commission for 10 years. He got to use what he got at the moment. All right, so we gonna bear with him. We gonna ride. We gonna ride with him. All right, he got this. This is Dexter. So anyway, now he's got asshole taped down to his table, right? And so he feels underneath asshole's head, and there's some blood. So he says out loud, "Sorry about the mess. I'm a little out of practice." Now, asshole is still knocked out, so Dexter's pretty much talking to himself at this point. So then Dexter goes over to the work table that's in the greenhouse, and he's there's this box on the table. It's not really tall box. It's skinny, kind of taller than it is wide, and it's got glass in it. So he breaks the glass, and he takes 2 shards of glass. He takes one of the broken shards and he cuts asshole's cheek. You remember that's his thing. That's what he does. He collects the little drop of blood from the person's cheek. So he lets the blood drop onto one piece of glass and he covers it with another piece of glass to keep as a souvenir. As he's doing this, we hear asshole waking up. Right. So now asshole woke up and he realizes, this shit ain't right. So he's struggling, trying to get up, And so, Dexter, he's looking at him. He's like, look, listen, I know what the fuck I'm doing. You might as well just lay there and chill. Right. Okay. Not his words. Those are my words, but y'all know how I talk anyway. So, y'all remember in the old Dexter, he makes the person confess their crime before he actually kills them, right? Okay, so now Dexter's going through the whole thing of making asshole confess. And yes, again, this is a townie, but I'm calling him Dexter instead of Jim because now this is Dexter. This is the Dexter we all know and love. So, Dexter's going through the whole thing of making asshole confess. So now asshole, he still don't want to confess. He's an asshole and he needs to die and he's finna die. And I love it. So anyway, now asshole doesn't want to confess this shit. And he's like, you're not going to get away with this. And what the fuck ever. And so Dexter looks at asshole and he says, this ain't the first time. So asshole stops and he's like, so what, you're a serial killer? And Dexter looks and he says, I was. And then he says, no, it's not so much that I was. I am. So then asshole was like, oh, this is about the boat, right? Right? Wanted to get high and play chicken and go chase the guy that backed out of the chicken because he was fucking high and he was a privileged asshole. Anyway, all I can say is I'm glad he's dying. I really am. He's got to go. Bye, Felicia. So then, after Dexter says that, asshole was like, you know what? I did it. I did everything you said. Just please. And then Dexter cuts him off and covers his mouth. And he's like, you shot my deer and you almost killed me. Because you remember the bullet whizzed past Dexter's head and almost hit him. So now asshole is pleading for his life. He's like, I'll promise, I'll never do anything like this again if you just let me go. Dexter looks at him and he says, you know what? I promised the same thing, but look at me now. Smart ass. Okay. So then he He holds the knife over top of asshole. Oh, so you know what I'm talking about. So you don't have to kill me. And Dexter's still pretty much like, nah, bitch, you still finna die. It's indignant. And he's like, you know what, man, fuck you. And then he starts going on about, oh, you know who my dad is? You don't know who you're fucking with. He's gonna find you, and when he finds out that you did this, he's gonna rain down a world of pain on you. Dexter's just looking at him like, bitch, you don't know who the fuck I am. You don't know who the fuck you're talking to, okay? Shit, I'll kill you and your daddy. Now, he didn't say this, but this was the look on his face, okay? So then Dexter says, like you said, life is short, dude. And then he takes the knife and he raises it up and he plunges it down in the asshole's chest. Ooh, there it is. He's back. And asshole is finally dead, bitch. So anyway, there is something wrong with me. I'm a little too happy at this man's death. Anyway. So then Dexter's standing there and there's a mirror in the greenhouse. And he looks at it. And again, we hear what he's thinking. So he thinks to himself, there you are. I've missed you. Hello, Dexter Morgan. Bitch. He is back, baby. Are you ready? I'm ready. Oh, yeah. Anyway. So it's at that point he gets a call from his girlfriend, the cop. And she reminds him about some Christmas party that they were supposed to go to. And he says a fox got in the chicken coop and it's a whole mess. So he has to clean it up. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, sorry about that. You go do what you got to do. So they hang up. So now he's got to get rid of the body. And he gets his saw out and he's like, now what to do with you? And then he sees this little picture that he has up of this fishing hole. And he remembers he has a fishing hole in the back of his house. And he's like, it's not the Miami Harbor, but it'll do. So then he starts sawing up the body and putting it in the bags, right? Then they don't show him dumping it, but we already know what happened, right? Right. Okay, so next thing we see is him walking out to his truck. And on his way to the truck, Deb pops up. And she goes, what are you doing? And he says, not listening to you. And he gets in the truck and drives off. So he ends up at the bus stop where he told Harrison to go to get the bus. And Harrison is still there. He's sitting on the bench. He's waiting for the bus. And he's got his earbuds in his ears listening to music. And Dexter walks up to him and hands him a winter coat. And Harrison looks up at him and takes the earbuds out of his ears and he looks surprised. And Dexter says, here, I thought you might need this. And so Dexter sits down on the bench and he says, you were right. I am Dexter Morgan. I'm your father. Child, they had a whole Star Wars moment. Luke, I am your father. This is what was going through my head when I was seeing this shit. But anyway, let's continue. He looks at Harrison and he says, come home, please. So they get in the truck. Next thing we see, they're at the house and they get out of the truck and go into the house. So then the camera pans out to the side of the house. And there in the snow on the ground we see blood. Again, it's been 10 years. Dexter's a little rusty. And he left blood behind outside in the snow. Bright red blood on top of bright white snow. And that's where the episode ended. Now, they showed the previews for what's going to happen for the rest of this season. Ooh, bitch. It's finna get good. I know I'll be tuned in, bitch. And I will keep you informed. Okay? Okay.
All right, so there we have it. This episode started out a little slow, but I think, you know what, this is the MO of Dexter. You know, the very first episode started out a little slow. The first episode of every season started out a little slow. It started out a little slow when he moved to the suburbs. They got to introduce you to everybody and get you into it, right? Right. Okay. So now we get into it. He got his first kill. The previews for the rest of the season look good. Bitch, I'm here for it. Okay. And I'm ready to go. I'm ready for next Sunday, honey. Yes, I am. All right. So here we go. I'll see y'all next week.
That's all cold. Big rings, that's all cold. That's all cold. YK, that's all cold. Big rings, that's all cold.